You're listening to certified financial planner Doug Goldstein, host of the Goldstein on Gelt Show, www.goldsteinongelt.com.
I'm really excited to be broadcasting today from the studio of the Stacking Benjamins show. I got here a little bit early. They have all this cool equipment. I wonder what this does.
Hey.
Oh,
what are you doing?
Holy cow. Joe, is that you?
It is me.
Sorry, I had to stop by. I hope you don't mind. I was playing with your stuff. I know it's a little bit inappropriate, but you have an awesome studio here at the Stacking Benjamins show.
Yeah, you're down here in the basement. You didn't tell everybody how dark it is down here.
It is very. Where are the lights?
You gotta pull this cord right here.
Oh man, you're looking. You look really good. You look really good today. So,
well, for a pale guy.
Since last time we spoke, yeah. So last time you and I spoke, we spoke about teaching kids about money. So I told my kids, you got to listen to this interview I did with Joe Saul-Sehy. And I listened and they couldn't believe it. They said, Dad, your father gave you a credit card. You never gave us one.
That's why you can't let kids listen to the show.
It's true. This is adult content.
You know, the thing, we didn't talk about board games, but that'd be a whole different show. So, oh well.
That would be a whole
next
game.
time.
We are big gamers in our family, but in fact, the young man with whom my daughter is keeping company these days is also a big gamer. So we sit around every Shabbat, every Sabbath, and we just play games all the time.
Fantastic. I'll be there.
But it's not a game. We should actually get a little bit serious here. What's not a game is this whole situation with the market. And you know how on the Money Tree podcast, when you and I talk, our dear friend Linda P. Jones often comments to us, this is the second longest running bull market in history. And what she's really saying is, oh my gosh, watch out for the huge explosion at the end. And I'm reading this book by Jim Rickards, who's an absolute doomsayer.
Right.
Talking about literally end of the world stuff. So what's your take? I mean, and now we're here in a dark basement, kind of spooky. You think we're in for spooky times?
Well, I think you have a choice, which is information flows in, and you can either choose to be optimistic or pessimistic about it. Me personally, I prefer to think that the economy will continue, and that I won't need to just go buy a bunch of canned goods and freeze dried packets.
What's wrong with canned goods? I love canned goods.
Nothing wrong with them. I just don't want to have to be building my doomsday shelter. But that said, I think you should always be wary of a downturn, don't you? I think that
no, it's not a downturn. You and I we've been both in the business for decades, right? I'm not talking about a downturn. I'm talking about. Let me just give you an example. This Jim Rickards book called The Road to Ruin, he talks about the 2008 was just child's play compared to the amount of leverage. And they used to talk about too big to fail banks. And he said those same banks are much bigger today with huge leverage. And, there's certainly what to talk about here. And when professionals like us just say, well, there's ups and downs and volatility in the market, that's not what he's talking about. He's talking about utter collapse. And I don't know what to say. In other words, guns and ammo and running to the hills.
Yeah, and I could get ready for that. I'm a member of a men's group
with guns.
Yeah. I'm a member of a men's group on Facebook, and there was recently a discussion. I couldn't believe people were having it. They were talking about these people getting ready, and they're saying the first rule of getting ready is you don't tell anybody that you're getting ready, because you don't want people to come running for your shelter when you need the shelter. And I'm like, wow, we've gone that far. But I think that look at how many more people.
Here, hold on, let me write that down. That's an interesting strategy. Don't tell anyone.
I did too. Like, oh, I see. I'm not going to know where to run unless I have my own. But I think
your wife's not going to listen to the show, is she?
Right. We can't have her hogging all the canned goods. I think Doug that I have a choice, which is to think that the economy will continue, or that the economy is going to completely fail. We were afraid of 2000. We've been afraid of so many different events during my lifetime. There were people, we were talking about Halley's Comet, recently on one of our long morning runs, and about that group of people that were sure that was going to be the end of the world, that was going to do it. I think
it was a huge disappointment, because it was supposed to be big in the sky and it was just a little tiny dot.
That's bad. But I think
that's beside the point.
Right. What people aren't used to is the scale. Sure, the banks are bigger, but there's a ton more people. There is.
Sorry, what does that mean?
Well, when you look at the huge amounts of printed money that are out there, and the size of the banks, and the number of people that are their customers, that we're working on scales before that we haven't seen. So, yeah, is there fear in the market? Are there things that we could be afraid of that we maybe should be afraid of? Yes. Am I building a doomsday shelter? No, I'm not.
But do you think that people should be preparing for some sort of total collapse in the currency and the markets? Or is it just, one of the things I heard someone once, maybe it was Warren Buffett, but heck, everyone says Warren Buffett said, but they pointed out, what are you going to do? Everything collapses and, there's darkness and gloom and kind of smells sort of like the basement here. And, you're going to go buy a loaf of bread and give someone a piece of gold and say, well, lucky I collected gold because now I've got money. Is that really what people should be thinking?
I can't imagine that place. Myself, I'm not. I can't tell other people what to do, Doug, but I can tell you that if I was still a financial planner today, like I was for 16 years and like you are, I wouldn't be telling people that. I'd be telling people the worst thing you could do is prep for the end of the world that's happening next year, 5 years, 10 years from now with money that you should be saving for your retirement. I would hate to have people that have to live in their doomsday shelter because they invested all their money in that instead of investing on what if the world continues. If I have to choose between having a lovely retirement and gloom and doom, I'm going to take the lovely retirement option.
Yeah, no, I hear. Optimistic Joe Saul-Sehy goes for the good plan. I'll tell you what's interesting is when you talk to people about gloom and doom, and just for example, there were a few people that I spoke to before the election who were a little bit afraid that it might not go their way, and they sold out completely. And then they said, and then President Trump was elected, and they go, see, I told you, now everything's going to fall apart. And then, of course, since then, the market, hit new highs. And then they say, oh, but I missed out on everything. And so I think the point you made is exactly what we witnessed here, which is that people love talking about doom and gloom, and there's so many stories about it. But if they miss making a profit, then I'm not interested in that story anymore.
We have a guy on our show, Len Penzo, on our Friday roundtable discussions, and he has predicted successfully 9 of the last 4 market downturns. And what's sad about Len is he's missed so many big runs because he's so doom and gloom that, I'm not into Len's numbers. I'm not sure exactly what Len's numbers are, but I'm absolutely positive they could have been way better had he just realized that markets are big. We don't understand why the market moves the way it moves all the time, like the market in aggregate. We understand individual companies. We don't understand the market. We also, I think we should be afraid, but on a lot less of a level, Doug, than what you're talking about. I think we should always be afraid that we think we know where the market's going tomorrow, that we know the doom and gloom's coming tomorrow, or we know the top's coming tomorrow. I think that's what I fear. I fear whenever somebody tells me what's going to happen next, and I believe them. that's my biggest.
Right. Yeah, I like actually when I read these books, and I haven't done it with this book I'm reading now by Jim Rickards, who I think is a bright guy. I think he's definitely done a lot of his research. But sometimes you go back and you look and see what is it that these people predicted in the past and see whether that stuff came true. And in the past, many of them were kind of pessimistic, and that could be 30 years ago they were writing. And it didn't happen then, and it didn't happen again, and it didn't happen again. And then you find, maybe one day they'll be right, and then they'll get to claim that they were right.
There was a guy,
they missed it so many times.
Yeah, there was a guy in 1999, I remember, when the market was really on that big technology tear. His name's Harry Dent Jr. He's still out there prognosticating, but he wrote a book called The Roaring 2000s. And in that book, he said, quote, when the first downturn hit at 2000, just was barely starting to go down. He said, this is halftime at the Super Bowl. It's not going to go down anymore. And of course, as you know, it went down a ton after that. And Harry disappeared for maybe 4 or 5 years. And then he came right back, and he's continuing to tell us stuff that he'll probably be wrong about tomorrow.
I'll have to bring him back onto the Goldstein on Geld show because he is also a former guest of the show here. Hey, Joe, listen, I got to run. I'm actually getting delivery of gold coins, and I certainly don't want to miss that.
Well, I got my
just in case.
Yeah, I got my doomsday project going. Check out right back here. We're digging it with little spoons. So.
Is that why you actually broadcast your show from a basement? Is that because you're afraid of like a nuclear war or something?
You can't be too safe.
Never too safe, and never as safe as in your own mother's basement. Hey, Joe Saul-Sehy, we got to split, but tell me in the last few seconds, how could people find out how to get into the basement and be safe with you?
Well, thanks for stopping by. It was certainly fun talking doom and gloom with you, Doug. The Stacking Benjamin Show is a show based on the science of play, meaning that we have a really relaxed show talking about money topics, and where a lot of shows are the type of show where they want to be the last word on what you learn about a topic. We just want to get you interested so that you want to learn more about a wide array of different things. We have a lot of different voices and a lot of different topics. But Monday, Wednesday, Friday, wherever you listen to podcasts, the Stacking Benjamin Show.
And it is a truly enjoyable show. I enjoy listening. One of my favorites. In fact, it is one of the world's favorites. The Stacking Benjamin Show is often right up there with the Money Tree podcast that, Joe, you and I do together as one of the number one top financial podcasts on the planet.
In fact, right now on iTunes, it's pretty funny. We're side by side, very close to the top of the chart.
That's fantastic. All right, everyone, go check it out. We'll put links to that at the show notes of today's show at goldsteinongelt.com. Joe Saul-Sehy, thanks very much for being a guest today.
You've been listening to the Goldstein on Gelt Show with money maven Doug Goldstein. Check out all of Doug's money ideas at goldsteinongelt.com. Doug specializes in helping people who live outside the United States handle their U.S. investment accounts. If you have a question that you would like answered on the air or off, contact Doug at his website or send him an email to doug@profile-financial.com.